In a survey conducted by the by the Center for Economic and Policy Research, it was found that out of 21 high-income earning countries, the United States had the least generous parental leave policy. The Family and Medical Leave Act, which was signed into law in 1993 by Bill Clinton, grants a two-parent family 24 weeks of unpaid leave. Unfortunately, there are a lot of businesses that kind of get out of having to abide by the law, so it excludes 40% of the workforce. Of the 21 countries surveyed, the United States and Australia were the only countries that did not offer paid parental leave. The United States also ranked 20th in the amount of time given for leaves. France ranked #1 by giving 300 weeks, which is 6 years, which is pretty crazy. The study also found that because unpaid leave left at least one parent in need to support the other parent or the other person, that it kind of reinforced traditional gender roles, which was, is an issue with gender roles in general. So you can see that the United States and Australia are basically the only countries in the world that don't offer some amount of paid leave for parents. Let's see. The benefits of the FMLA is though other advanced countries have more extensive protections for pregnant women in the workforce, the FMLA has decreased infant mortality, increased birth weight, and decreased instances of premature birth. Unfortunately, this is mostly for college-educated married women, because those are the only ones that can really take advantage of the benefits. A number of European and Nordic countries have gender-neutral parental leave policies that encourage couples to split the responsibility of childbearing. In Sweden and Norway, fathers' use of leaves is positively correlated with continued childbearing, which means that if fathers take off kind of a medium amount of parental leave, then that family is more likely to have a second or third child, which potentially, although it's because correlations are sort of difficult to pin down, it potentially means that it increases parental satisfaction and connection. Shared involvement in childbearing has been shown to have positive effects on the emotional responsiveness of infants. By measuring pupil dilation and face scanning patterns, it was found that in infants who have been cared for extensively by both parents demonstrate higher levels of arousal and attention toward the facial expressions of both caregivers and strangers. This paper actually suggested that it kind of implicated a kind of deeper emotional maturity early on. This is in babies of about 14 months. So, studies have also shown that gender-neutral parental leave policy encourages gender equality. In Denmark, the implications of more generous parental leave policy has shown positive effects on mothers' income and career opportunities. Another study also found that families whose youngest child was born after gender-neutral policies were enacted reported 11% lower conflicts concerning household division of labor, and parents of those households were 50% more likely to split responsibilities such as clothes washing. So, I don't know, sort of different things. So the conclusion is that promotion of gender-neutral paid leave for parents has positive impacts on individual families and society as a whole. Governmental investment in gender-neutral parental leave is also an investment in the safety and well-being of that government's citizens. This is the summary. This I did in Photoshop. These are the references. Any questions?
if gender-neutral parental leave is so awesome, how come the U.S. doesn't do it? What do you think the social and cultural reasons are for that?
Well, I think that the United States has a history of not being very, the idea of government intervention into the private sector has always been a prickly issue. But then on top of that, there's studies are kind of mixed on, there are a lot of positive things that equal time away from parents has shown, but there's reports that support the other side as well. So I mean, on top of the fact that this country doesn't like supporting its citizens very much, I think there's also, there's research that shows the exact opposite. Anybody else?
I mean, kind of a weird question.
I'm ready.
Because I've been thinking US and Australia. You say that the percentage is like very low even for unpaid leaves and stuff like that. Is there any kind of a indication in any of the articles that it may be caused by immigration, people who want to come to work and US just doesn't recognize kids as profitable or something like that? If you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's not in any of the articles that I read. The articles I read weren't trying to explain why the United States or Australia had those policies. But, Australia, just to give credit where credit is due, they don't pay for maternity leave or paternity leave, but they do give bonuses once the person comes back. So that Australia is still more supportive of kind of people that have had kids than the United States is. I mean, but again, the FMLA has been very helpful. It supports mothers by taking them out of kind of potentially hazardous work environments. It's increased the weight of children when they're born. I mean, there are benefits to it. It's just, I think kind of the most interesting part of it is that it reinforces these traditional gender roles, because families are forced to make kind of true decisions about who's going to be the primary caring parent for the family. And there's an article that I read that said that the maternity leave sort of accounts for, in some respects, part of the reason that there's a pay gap with women and there are different opportunities for women, because just because it's uneven, if you hire a man, he can stay on as long as there's no worries about him leaving. And so if you have kind of supported parental leave for both men and women, then it evens the playing field. And in fact, Sweden and Norway are pretty proactive about getting both men and women to take time off. I don't know.
It's interesting. It's like, does that change the concept of masculinity in those countries, or was it different? It seems like it's like the way that those things influence each other.
Well, it's an interesting idea about just policy in general, like these very small, these questions about who's taking care of a child affect, aspects of gender equality that you wouldn't necessarily think about unless you were looking at one or looking at the other.
Do you know if there's any group pushing for there to be a change of the FMLA? Are there any talks?
I think I have no idea, but there's a group for everything. I mean, as people have seen in this country, it's been a struggle even to get health care. And women's rights kind of under siege these days in this country. The birth control fights and needing to have these very invasive scans before abortions and stuff like that. So I think you would have to get through kind of having comprehensive, equal medical care for everybody before you could start talking about paid maternity and paternity leave. That would be my guess.
I think it's very true what you said, that how the government doesn't really like getting involved in the private sector, because they're the ones that decide if they want to pay you or not. They're the ones that hire you.
Yeah, well, I mean, you see it all the time. You see it with our healthcare law, where it's like, you know, there was a potential chance to have public healthcare or a public option, and it was just shot down, even though it would have been kind of the easiest thing to do. So anyway, that's off topic. Thank you guys.